Today, I fucked up by trying to prank my fiance on April Fool's Day. I was wasting time on Reddit and found the perfect one. Easy setup, little cleanup, and dumb. It was perfect. I was home alone that day, so I grabbed some farfalle pasta from the pantry. I wanted a good crunch and got to work. I knew chances of my prank happening anytime soon were slim, as our master bathroom is slightly out of the way and my fiance typically goes for the guest bath. That's okay though, I'm a patient person. As soon as she got home from work, our son wanted to go play soccer outside. So we all go out and play for a while before coming back inside and having dinner. After drinking a bunch of water outside, coupled with a glass of wine with dinner, nature called. So naturally, I go into our bedroom, having completely forgotten what I did to the toilet. I jumped. The crunch, the feeling, the noise, the panic. Can confirm this prank is a good one. I got myself. I chuckled and went out into the living room to tell her what had just happened, but was greeted by an empty room. By some kind of twisted luck, she had gone into a different part of the house while I had seemingly shattered the toilet with my ass, saving me from embarrassment. The temptation to go back into the kitchen and grab the farfalle was too great. I practically leapt across the living room and into the kitchen, grabbed the pasta box, and made my way stealthily back to the toilet. I quickly cleaned up the remnants of the last farfalle explosion from the floor, carelessly sweeping some stubborn pieces under the rug. I lined up another dozen pieces of pasta along the toilet rim and gently positioned the seat on top. The trap was set. I threw the farfalle box into our closet. The only time my fiancé ever uses our bathroom is in the morning or before bed. I had hours of waiting, again trying not to fuck this up and prank myself for the second time. It's around midnight at this point, and finally, a solid 6 hours later, it's time for bed. I am giddy. I wait. I hear what sounds like God himself stepping on a porcelain toilet and surprise yell from our bathroom. I remain silent. Oh, you fucker. I'm crying. I can't breathe. Something about having pranked myself and knowing the absolute panic she had just felt sent me into a fit. At some point, I regained just enough composure to relay my endeavors in their entirety. She is impressed and also thinks I'm an idiot. Still wants to marry me, though. Am I the asshole for my response to my brother-in-law's comment about my leg hair? So my female 19 sister, female 28, and brother-in-law came over with the kids for dinner at my parents' house. I was watching my nieces while dinner was getting ready. We sat down and I happened to sit next to my brother-in-law. I was wearing a skirt and it was accidentally lifted above my knee. My brother-in-law looked down at my leg and made a face and loudly said, "Oh, shoo, oh, this is gross. You should have shaved. That hair isn't supposed to be there." I told him if it's not supposed to be there, then why does it grow there? Can you explain? And he was like, "It's just not supposed to be there." I point at his mustache and say, "Well, I guess the same thing can be said about your little mustache then, huh?" He looks at me, eyes wide open, and awkward silence takes over, though some laughed. My sister told me to knock it off as my brother-in-law got up from his chair and went inside the bathroom. My sister followed, and I could hear him having a breakdown, asking her if there was something wrong with his mustache. My brother and I kept giggling, but dinner got cut short because my brother-in-law wanted to leave. I later got scolded by my sister, saying I stepped over the line and disrespected someone who's older than me, who's her husband, and demanded I apologize to him for insulting him and ruining dinner. Am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for telling my dad, who left, that I don't remember him? I'm 15 female and my father is 46 male. My dad left the family when I was 7 without any explanation. He just vanished one day and I've never seen him since. He left because of relationship issues with my mom. She was heartbroken and waited 5 years for him to return, but in the end filed for divorce. Thankfully, she's over him now. To be honest now, 8 years after he left, I barely have any memory of him. Only some resentment for the years of suffering he put my mom and sister, 19 female, through. They tried to contact him, but he'd never respond. I can't remember his voice, personality, or even face much. Last week, he texted my mother and said he wanted to meet after 8 years of disappearance. My mom agreed. We arranged a meetup at a nearby restaurant. My sister was so nervous and excited, but I realized I felt nearly nothing. He arrived and my mom and sister started crying. He cried too, at the sight of his beloved daughters. He saw that I looked quite emotionless and said, "Don't you miss your dad?" I replied honestly that I didn't even remember him. He left so long, it's like I barely knew him. He was so shocked and hurt. Eventually, he cut off our meetup early, claiming he had to work. My mom and sister were so mad, they blamed it on me. My mom said that my sister's been waiting to see her dad for so long, but I had to make a stupid remark and make him leave a second time. Asking how I could behave like this towards my dad, telling me that I'm a selfish bitch and an asshole. I'm sorry that he cut the meeting short because I knew my sister missed him so damn much, but to be honest, I don't feel bad for saying the truth. Am I in trouble for refusing to cooperate with the hospital as X's emergency contact? 3 years ago, I was in a relationship. He was abusive, did some really deplorable things I found out about later. I made a report, got a restraining order, and haven't spoken to him or anyone that knows him in 3 years. A week ago, he was in an accident. His phone was destroyed and could not be accessed, but he had some information in his wallet. He still had me as his emergency contact. I was not aware he had added me as his emergency contact at any point. I got a call Monday from an unknown number. It was someone from a hospital. They started telling me my ex was in a serious accident. I immediately cut them off and said, I don't care who this is, do not contact me again. They called back and asked if I could help them get in contact with someone else. At least I think that's what they wanted. I didn't let them finish. I cut them off pretty fast and said, I don't care, I hope he dies, do not contact me again, and hung up again. His sister, we were friendly, but I cut contact after the breakup, messaged me yesterday only letting me know that their family hired a lawyer to sue me for refusing to take the hospital's call, causing a delay in his treatment. He also had some allergies and medical details that they didn't know about, which caused complications and skyrocketed his medical bills. I had no idea about either. Am I in any kind of trouble here?
Am I the asshole for not letting my husband sit with us during girls' night in? Disclaimer, this is not my story. My husband, 35, is disabled. He's in a wheelchair and is home 24/7. Because he needs me around to assist him, I'd have him in his chair nearby while I do laundry, cook, or clean. He's with me most of the time except for when I go to the bathroom, but even then he would complain about me being away for so long. I don't even go out shopping, everything gets delivered to our home. I haven't seen my girlfriends for a while and have arranged to start having girls' night-ins at my place since I can't be away from home, especially at night. I asked my husband for some privacy when my friends come over and he took it badly. He took it as in I was annoyed and bothered by him, but I assured him that it wasn't like that. He said if that's true, then I'd let him sit with us during girls' night in. I absolutely refused and tried explaining that my friends and I need privacy and this is the only time we spend together. I also explained that having him sit with us would ruin the purpose of a girls' night in. He threw a hissy fit and called me selfish and rude for refusing. Am I the asshole for kicking out my teen and their boyfriend? Disclaimer, this is not my story. In April, my teen got COVID-19 and because of their health issues, they were hospitalized for over a month and lost their job because of it. I still expected them to pay rent, which they refused because they had no job and weren't even home. The boyfriend called me heartless and said he wouldn't be paying their rent either. I decided to keep my mouth shut and ask at a later date. When my teen returned, they had to stay downstairs because the doctor said to avoid stairs. The boyfriend bought an air mattress for them. I asked if he could afford an air mattress, why couldn't he afford to give me their rent? He ignored me. A week later, the boyfriend knocked on my door and demanded I let him borrow the fan I had in my basement. I told him no, then I got a phone call from my teen asking why I wouldn't let them borrow the fan. I left my house and went to the library. I was tired of being disrespected in my own home and returned with 2 eviction papers. From what I heard, my teen ended up in a homeless shelter in a city 2 hours away and their boyfriend is somewhere on the West Coast. After their 30 days were up at the shelter, my teen texted me asking me to take them in. I said no because I can't trust that they'll be respectful towards me. Am I the asshole for kicking out my teen and their boyfriend? Disclaimer, this is not my story. I, female 62, have 1 child from my ex-husband Andrew, male 57. They came out to me as non-binary when they were 17, they're now 19. In June of 2021, their boyfriend, male 20, moved in with us in my mother's home. My mom has dementia and lives in a nursing home. My teen has multiple health issues, both physical and mental. When they turned 18, I started charging my teen rent, $500 a month, which is cheap in our area. I charged their boyfriend the same amount. The boyfriend has always been a very handy person and has fixed a lot of things in my home. The house is the same age as me and my mother has never had it renovated. He has done the work around the house after his actual job as a manager at a local restaurant. He has asked that he's either compensated for his work or that he gets money off his rent for the month. I told him no every time because I've never asked him to do the work. I think it's ridiculous that I should have to pay for something I've never asked him to do, like redoing the kitchen floor. Am I the asshole for telling my nephew about family dynamics that his parents didn't want him to know? Disclaimer, this is not my story. Some family members and I have tried to convince his parents to at least tell him the truth so he's not faced with it from people who will not care about cushioning his feelings or making sure he's okay. They refused. My sister said there is no biological truth, that they are the parents of all 4 of their kids, and it ends there. James has been talking to me a lot about finding his siblings and being excited to have them back in his life. He's mentioned how maybe he could reconcile their parents and them too, and how he hoped to prove that they were never replaced by him and that he knows it must have been hard to have a baby come into the family so much later. He believes that's why they left because that's what his parents told him. I decided he needed to know after my sister and her husband refused to tell him. So I was honest, my sister wasn't his biological mom and his dad wasn't his biological dad, and they're not blood siblings. I told him I loved him and it didn't make him less of my nephew. He asked if they would actually want a relationship with him. I told him no. My sister called me and said I stepped out of my place by telling him.